Welcome to Nightmare Echoes. Listen, scream, and embrace your horror obsession. I'm your host, Elazar, and in this episode, Jesse is here to unscramble Hellraiser Inferno, where the puzzles are easy, but the consequences are hell. Does this movie truly belong in the Hellraiser franchise? Who is the faceless man haunting our detective? And what's really hiding in that surreal ending? If you dare follow us, all our links are in the description. Next week on the podcast, The Frighteners. But until then, a movie of sex, drugs, and one very confusing descent into damnation.
Hellraiser Inferno.
Hello everybody, welcome back to Nightmare Echoes. I'm your host, Elazar. I'm joined again with Jesse. Jesse, how's it going?
Pretty fantastic.
Awesome. Today we're covering Hellraiser Inferno, came out in 2000, aka Hellraiser 5. Written and directed by Scott Derrickson, who did The Exorcism of Emily Rose, Sinister, Doctor Strange, and The Black Phone. I love The Black Phone. It was also written by Paul Harris Boardman, who's also known for writing Deliver Us from Evil and Devil's Knot. The main cast are Greg Sheffer, who plays Detective Joseph Thorne, who was in Nightbreed, which is also by Clive Barker. But I know Craig Schaefer mostly from One Tree Hill. He played the uncle of one of the main characters. Okay. Oh, and then my favorite person in here that I was not expecting this movie is James Remar, who plays Dr. Paul Gregory, who I love from The Warriors because I grew up obsessed with that movie.
Believe me, I know.
This one had a budget of approximately $2 million and was a straight-to-video release, so there's no figure on how much it's ever made. But there's been 6 more sequels after it.
So yeah, it could have been worse.
It could have been worse. So, the movie starts by showing us this character, Detective Joseph Thorne, who is good at chess. He wins $50 off of a professor, who I think is supposed to be monitoring these kids playing basketball behind him.
Yeah, I'm really confused with this. Who plays chess on a basketball court?
I don't know. That doesn't, yeah, it's looking for the pieces to get destroyed.
Right.
Yeah. Thorne is so good that he's on the phone call talking about some basketball game he played the night before and that they won by 7, but if the person on the phone would have been there, they would have won by 20, but he still wins the chess match while he's on the phone distracted. Because they're setting up that this guy's really good at puzzles. He's really smart. Later in the locker room, we see Thorne putting on his suit. He sniffs some powder, which is drugs, and then holsters his gun. We get a voiceover that tells us, as a little kid, he always knew he was really good at puzzles and explains how this led to him becoming a detective.
I like this guy. He's interesting.
He's with his partner, Detective Tony Nonan, and the voiceover tells him that he never knew that one day his life would become the most challenging puzzle of all. At a crime scene, Tony Nonan asks him a vocabulary puzzle, asking him another name for the crime scene they're at or something. And he throws one right back at him, asking him to spell his last name, which is Nenonen. And then he asks him what's a 10-letter word for his name, and that detective's confused because his name's only 7 letters.
Yeah, whereas it's not really that hard a puzzle.
Yeah, right, yeah.
I mean, I figured it out. I don't know if you did.
I don't know that I cared enough to try.
Okay.
So they get inside, they see this chopped up victim. They use his Colorado driver's license to identify him as Jay Cho, and we find out that Detective Thorne went to high school with him. Then he tells a story of how he was a really quiet guy, and he tried out for the basketball team, and then Thorne said him and his buddies prided themselves on how much they tortured Jay until he eventually quit.
Interesting.
Yep.
Really setting up for
things. Yeah. Thorne then goes to a bookshelf, seems to pull out a book that I guess he doesn't think fits. He opens it to see that there's drugs hiding there. He does this little close-up magic trick for himself, and the drugs disappear. And then he smiles to himself because he's the only one that saw the trick, because if he showed other people, they would know he had the drugs. Tony follows Thorne as he picks up a candlestick, which is lit, and on the bottom of the candlestick is the lament configuration. And then inside the wax of this candle seems to be a human child's finger.
I didn't notice the base of the... Oh, maybe I did, actually, yeah.
I noticed it the first view, and I might not have seen it here, but I saw it with the evidence.
Yeah.
So I was like, they found it. When did they find it? And I might have rewound it to figure it out. In the evidence room, Thorne is going through the belongings before turning it over. He pulls out the guy's wallet, which has $400, takes out $300 for himself, and then changes the evidence log to say, nope, it was not $400 they found, but only $100. and it looks so obvious that he steals it. Like, he's not even trying to, like, make this a believable story.
And yet, I would say overall, from this intro, it feels like the movie has a little bit classier vibe than the previous Hellraiser movies.
Yeah?
I mean, it's like it's trying to be more Pulp Fiction-y, like...
Yeah, film noir.
Right, film noir. Sure.
Yeah. And yeah, I like it. It's a different take. And I like that they're like, at least at this point, saying, we're okay with making independent movies that don't have to connect in the world of Hellraiser to have fun one-off stories.
Well, they connect. Oh, you just mean,
I mean,
very...
like directly.
Very closely, yeah.
Yeah. No.
It is neat that they are just straight up, like, having fun with it, right? Like, a sci-fi, a film noir. What are we going to do next? It'll probably be a children's show or something, right?
I'll give you a hint. There's a returning character in the next one.
Okay.
So, the guy working on the fingerprints returns the puzzle box to Thorne, saying there are 2 fingerprints found, but the child's fingerprint was burned off. But there was another fingerprint on the kid's finger and one on the puzzle box. But he says he can't run it tonight because he has a life, and he'll start working on it tomorrow. Thorne takes a short trip home to his wife, who is on the couch. He goes in to give his daughter a kiss. And I swear the music playing during the scene seems like a slow jazz song that would be played during like a low-budget sex scene. But it doesn't fit for me, but it's weird. His wife does wake up. She looks like she's trying to give him affection, but he pushes her away. He says he can't stay home because he caught a case, and he's just stopping by. His wife, Melanie, is played by Noel Evans, who on IMDb is known for playing characters such as Honey the Hooker and Crack Whore. So
you'd think he could find a way to, like, yeah.
She was trying to give him affection.
Yeah.
But he's like, no, I caught a case. I got to go. Like, what an idiot.
And I'm thinking, too, like, you know, because he goes and gets a hooker, right? It's
right.
like, you're good looking and, you know, you have a prestigious job and, like, you're
a
smart.
Beautiful wife at home.
Well, yeah, but also, I mean, even if you were going to cheat on your wife, you would think you wouldn't have to pay for it. Like, it's just weird.
Yeah. So he gets a voiceover justifying his actions, saying he believes in loyalty because his parents have been married for 40 years, but he lives in a different world. If it's him getting prostitutes keeps him going back home to his marriage, then who's to say it's wrong?
And I guess that living in a different world is a little bit of a foreshadowing to...
A clue. Unless he's already there and we don't know it.
Well, true.
Which, I love this debate. But we'll get there towards the end.
I don't think he is, but we can talk about it later.
I think he is.
We can talk about it later.
Okay. So we watch as Daphne gets into his car and drives off. Daphne is played by Sasha Barassi, known for playing Tracy in the Hangover trilogy, and Virginia in Let Me In, which I liked Let Me In, but I like the Let the Right One In better. It was the original. In the motel room, Daphne is happy to take off her boots because they're this like freakingly high laced up boots. She gets excited when she sees his badge and she's like, "Ooh, I like detectives." He does a magic trick to take out the $300 and make them reappear, hands it to her. She asks for if he has any gum, but instead he does that magic trick again to make the drugs reappear. She gets really excited. Cool. She snorts some off of him. He licks the rest because he doesn't want to waste it. And she whispers to him, "Whatever you want, as many times as you want." The screen goes red, like very overexposed white. And then we see a tiny bit of the sex before it switches to her sleep in bed. He seems to not be able to sleep. He takes the stuff into the bathroom with him. He drinks some alcohol before pulling out the puzzle box and starts to solve it, which seems to take 5 seconds.
Well, and not only that, but really, like, on the toilet, that is the most unceremonious way to solve the box of all the ways we've seen so far.
From this ritualistic room with candles everywhere.
Exactly.
This one's on the toilet.
Like, good
That's
grief.
Pretty funny.
And it seems like it unsolves itself this time.
Yeah.
Which is weird.
It is weird.
I guess
it wants to open.
Well, no, but I mean, I know it wants to open, but then it's like it closes itself, which it hasn't done in the past, I don't think. Remember when it was...
Because you used to press it back down?
When it was open and it was pressed down, it wasn't in a box shape, right? It was like a little star shape, and then you had to pull it out and push it back together in a square shape to undo it.
Yeah.
This time it did that, and maybe that lends some credence to your theory that he was already there, and so the box had nothing to do.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. I like that. The lights in the motel seem to go out. He goes to check on her. Instead, he seems to go into a room of a small boy that we later figure out is his childhood room. He thinks he's dreaming and he hears the little kid screaming, "Help me." He goes into the hallway where he meets the Wire twins, our new Cenobites for this movie. who seem ready to pleasure him. Parts of their hands go into his skin, into his chest, which he seems to enjoy.
Yeah, I can see why. Also, the hallway that he walked out in there is really cool looking with the creepy lights and everything.
Yeah.
That's just a good hallway.
And then he tries to run down the stairs and runs into Torso, which is another used Cenobite, and it seems like a different twist on the Chatterer. And while creepy, I don't know what it could do when it gets to you.
Yeah, I was thinking that too.
It can't stand up to attack you.
Right.
Yeah. Right before opening the door to leave, the hallway is snowing. Then he opens the door and we see Pinhead for about 2 seconds.
That was very unexpected.
Pinhead goes to rip Thorne's face off, and Thorne wakes up.
Or seems to wake up.
Seems to wake up. The next morning, Thorne is in the bathroom floor next to the puzzle box. Daphne is still asleep in bed when he comes out of the bathroom. At work, the forensic pathologist says it looks like he could use an autopsy himself, which I think is funny. And then goes to tell him he was right about the piercings of the flesh in the body of Jay, and they were made by hooks or chains with barbed ends. The pathologist goes on saying they weren't like piercings you would get from jewelry, and Thorne says maybe they're supposed to hurt, and the pathologist says bingo. Thorne asks about the kid, and he's told the print was burned off completely, but from the bone growth, they believe the kid was 6 or 7, but they can't tell from the finger if it was a boy or a girl. But the finger does seem to be cut off when the child was still alive. At his desk, Thorne is looking over the crime scene photos and gets a big headache when his partner asks him the answer to the riddle and tells him the answer is palindrome, and Tony doesn't know what it means, thinks he's making fun of him, and when he explains it to him, he goes like, oh, like Bob. And I'm like, really? That's the biggest one you know? Not like Madam I'm Adam or No Lemons, No Melon, a Santa lived as a devil at NASA.
Abel was I ere I saw Elba.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Which I thought was funny. Oh, Bob.
Yeah, this guy's relatable. His life, he's,
Yeah.
He's surrounded by idiots. I don't know.
Then Thorne gets a call on his work phone because it's the year 2000. And it's Daphne, who identifies herself as the girl from last night. He asks her to slow down, but she is panicked, and it sounds like she's in a lot of pain. So we cut back to the motel room, which he's going in, which is number 9. He has his gun drawn. He finds an empty bed and goes into the bathroom. When he pulls back the curtains, instead of seeing what he sees, we see his look of shock on his face, like, oh no, look at the thing that I'm seeing that you can't see. But they show us later. I thought, at first I was like, are they not going to show us to save money? Like, is that what's going on here?
That would be pretty bad.
Yeah. I've watched some movies like that with Jackson. It was like this monster movie. All the characters look it up like, oh, look at that horrible thing up there. It's indescribable.
I wish you could see it, audience. Yeah,
exactly. I'm like, really? So he goes out to the car to get Tony. He catches up to speed what happened, and he sends him inside to check it out. When doing this, he opens the glove compartment to take out Tony's pin with a handkerchief so he doesn't touch it and puts it in his pocket. Mm-hmm. Tony's not happy about what's happening, but he helps him clean up the evidence even after Thorne tells him that he slept with a girl and he did some coke with her. Afterwards, he tells Tony to call it in, and we see him plant his pin and drop a pack of cigarettes there.
Yeah, which is pretty wild.
Right, I'm like, what an asshole.
Yeah.
Then Thorne goes to look at the body, and we see her hanging there. There is another finger where the soap should be in the shower. The detective knows that the child will still have to be alive when the finger is cut off. There's a lot of blood in the tub. Thorne goes to the lab tech who is running the fingerprint database, who is more interested in reading Jules Verne. So Thorne grabs the book, throws it in the trash can, and tells him to change the parameters of the search based on the knowledge of the case he's got so far about the piercing and the body modification. And it comes up with a match in like a minute. Mm-hmm. And he tells him to print the file. This file leads him to a piercing shop.
Which is called Stigmata, which is a really cool name for a piercing shop.
Definitely, yeah. It's definitely got this torture theme vibe going on.
Yeah, very BDSM vibe. They've got like paddles and hooks and stuff in there. And I'm like, is this place double as like a brothel? Like, what's going on?
Yeah, that whip in there that you see throughout the movie is only for pain. Like that would definitely damage somebody.
Yeah.
So he starts asking for a man named Leo Gautier. He has some questions about Jay, and he said he sent him to ask about the box. Leon shoves Thorne against the wall, tell Jay that the engineer wants his money or his property back. Thorne shows his badge and tells Leon his fingerprints was on the puzzle box. Thorne tries but isn't able to get much out of the guy. Besides that, the box is too expensive for Jay to be able to afford it, which Thorne can't believe because Jay had a lot of money. The guy tells him that if you hunt for the engineer will hunt for you. And then Thorne sees in the mirror that Leon has a tattoo of the Wire Twins in his back, which freaks him out. But then when he slams him against the wall, he sees that the hand is more like the stigmata. It's a hand with a nail going through it. Really long nail.
Yeah.
Thorne then visits an ice cream man who's a drug dealer and maybe a pedophile. He asks about his birthday present, and the guy hands him some drugs and some money, saying he has a lot of damn birthdays. He asks about Daphne, and he tells her where she worked. He thinks she worked for a guy named Terry, who is very well connected. Thorne asks about an engineer, and the ice cream man says he doesn't know anything about an engineer. He takes him inside, and among all the ice cream pictures are a bunch of nude magazine pictures hanging on the wall, but it's funny. Anywhere there would be a vagina is kind of ripped off, like through damage or wear, but because they couldn't show it.
That's really funny. I didn't notice that.
It's just a funny little detail. The guy tells him that he's never met him, but he heard stories, and that the guy named Terry used to run women for the engineer.
I loved how easy it was to interrogate him.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he literally just said, "Come on, man, I'm out of that business." Okay, fine. It was like a split second of nothing was what convinced him.
So he tells a story about how Terry used to run women for the engineer until one day Terry fell in love with one of the women, decided to marry the woman even though the engineer didn't approve. So they eloped and ran away, but then one day he came home and the woman was missing. Over the years, he would get gifts like her earrings or a ring or something she was wearing. And then one day he found her head in the bed. When he pulled back the covers, the rest of the body was gone. And the note read, "You win, Terry. I kept what I need. The rest is yours," which is disturbing.
Indeed.
Thorne tells him to find out from Terry where the engineer is, and he needs him again to make him agree. Thorne then meets with Tony at the restaurant, who's having second thoughts about helping Thorne. He wants to go in to tell the captain about it. That's when Thorne tells him, "Hey, where's your pin?" And he tells him that he left it at the crime scene with his pack of cigarettes, and it's probably in evidence now. But it's okay. He'll back him up. He'll tell the captain that he was so nervous at the crime scene that he slipped by leaving his pin there and he needed to smoke. So that's why he left his cigarettes pack there. And it won't happen again. It's just a rookie mistake that Tony made.
His own partner, too.
He's an ass.
Like, right? But I mean, that is seriously cold, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and you can't expect him to be a good partner in any way after that.
No.
You're totally burning your professional and personal relationship with the guy.
Right.
Even if you do get him to not talk.
Yes, exactly. So Tony storms off, not happy about it, and when he does, the little kid comes in. He walks over and hands Thorne a VHS cassette in a black case. For some reason, he walks behind the bar and decides to insert the tape there, and what he sees is a boot and a whip with a lot of hooks on it, and he's being used to torture the ice cream man. This is the same weapon that we saw in the Stigmata place. So he thinks that that weapon belonged to the guy that he just shoved against a wall.
Yeah, the scene is pretty awesome. The whipping with chains. I can't even say what I think about that.
He then sees on the VHS tape the child's finger is put into the cash register, but not before this guy without a face licks the finger and his tongue burns the fingerprint off, which is gross.
I don't understand how that would work. How would
his tongue is like burns things. It's like the solid black tongue. He goes out and just sizzles the fingerprint, burns the fingerprint off, and puts it in there.
I guess I didn't understand that his tongue had magic powers. I did not pick up on that.
It seems to have. I don't know.
Sure.
So he takes the tape to the captain's office, and it's all static. He says that it definitely was there. He asked the IT guy if he could figure out if it was erased. And the guy can say, "I can definitely tell you it was erased, but I'll never be able to tell you it was on the tape." The captain, who's played by Carmen Argenazino.
Same guy as Carter's dad from SG-1, yeah.
General Jacob Carter, a.k.a. Selmac.
Yeah.
I love SG-1.
Yeah.
He tells them that, hey, I'm not going to suspend you, but I think you should probably see the counselor of the department. So outside the office, Thorne asks Tony if he thought he would be escorted out in handcuffs. And Tony has a funny line. Well, why? Did you do something bad? Thorne shows Tony the file, and the fingerprint of Leo Gautier was found on it on the box, and he says that the murder weapon was hanging in his shop. So Thorne tells Tony to go pick him up for questioning and keep an eye out for the ice cream man's van. Tony asks him what he's going to do, and he tells him he's going to go lay down on a couch and talk about his childhood. And this is where we meet Dr. Gregory. The doctor wants to connect with them on the fact that they both have daughters. He says the meetings are really informal and they can just talk. We find out that the doctor is an Episcopal priest, which means they're allowed to have families. He says we're allowed to have a little fun. Mm-hmm. Thorne pulls out these 2 Chinese metal balls used for stress and then uses a magic trick to make them disappear. The doctor asks if his daughter really enjoys that, and he says he's never used the magic for his daughter. Just something he uses to keep his mind entertained.
Kind of strange, actually.
Yeah, and then Thorne cuts the meeting really short, asking if they can do this another time. The doctor says, well, how about 10 o'clock tomorrow? So he says, okay. We have more voiceover where Thorne talks about how the doctor was talking about the innocence of children, but with all the missing kids reports, he says that he can never envy the children. We see on the screen the people that he's investigating Daphne on there. We see her last name is Sharp. Thorne thinks he sees the man being brought into the police facility is the faceless man with that long tongue that burns off the fingerprints. He runs up. It turns out not to be him. And the officer's like, what's your problem? Then another officer comes up to tell him that they found his snitch, which is the ice cream man.
Oh, these names are so awesome. Sharp, Thorne,
like... They all work besides the Nonan.
I don't know what the heck that is.
If they'd found a real last name that I'd heard of.
Well, it might be an anagram or something.
Yeah.
It's not quite no one.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe it might mean something we just don't know.
Yeah, that's true. We cut to little kids playing soccer right next to the crime scene where the ice cream truck was found. Inside, Tony asks the other cops if they found a finger, and they say they haven't found one. Thorne tells him it's in the cash register, and he opens it up and it's there. Tony looks at him like he shouldn't have been able to know that, and he tells him it was on the videotape. As they leave, we see the ice cream man's hands are chained to the steering wheel in a way that he wouldn't be able to move, and his back has been all ripped open from that whip with claws on it. Thorne drives later. Tony thinks that maybe the guy just wants his box back, and Thorne tells him if you hunt for the engineer hunts for you. He tells Tony that the box was at the first murder scene, and if he wanted it, he could have had it then. Then they pull up to a bar called The Crossing. Inside are a lot of poker tables, and Thorne goes to sit down at one and asks how he's supposed to buy in.
And they're all wearing these identical cowboy hats and everything, and it's like really strange. Like, what?
Yeah.
It's like a costume party.
Maybe it's another clue that he's not in the real world.
Maybe.
Then he asks for Mr. Parmaji, and when he shows up, he looks like a gunfighter from the Old West. I know the actor that played Mr. Parmaji, which is Michael Seamus Wiles from Fight Club. He's the bartender with the giant neck brace that asks Edward Norton, "Are you sure this isn't a test, sir?" That face, I just recognize that role, even though it was like a minute maybe. He asks if he's the engineer, but he isn't. He says, "You flatter me, sir." Thor tells him he received the engineer's message, but he isn't going to stop until he finds the child alive. And Mr. Parmaji is like, "I think you've mistaken the engineer's message then." Thorne tells him not to fuck with him, and Mr. Parmaji says that he knows that Thorne likes to play games, and the engineer wants him to keep playing this game. That's when a guy in the far back table stands up. It looks like the guy with no face. Thorne runs after him, out the back, into a foresty area. Then he sees Cinnabites, falls down, rolls down a hill, and lands pretty hard. A couple of cowboys dressed in all white, and the other in all black, approaches. Thorne goes for his gun, but it's missing. The two cowboys beat the crap out of him,
and they're
with
ninjas.
Martial arts.
Yeah. They're cowboy ninjas. This is getting progressively more and more absurd.
Then Mr. Parmaji shows up as Thorne is lying on the floor beat up. He says he's still going to find the child. Mr. Parmaji says that he suspects that is the object of the game, and then he gives him his gun back.
It almost seems like, in some ways, this almost seems like a schizophrenic self-aggrandizing fantasies, right? Like all these things that he's
They're weird,
through.
right? Yeah.
Well, they're not just weird. They're weird in a way that's like, I got beat up by cowboys and they were ninjas. It just seems like story a kid would tell about himself. And it just makes me wonder if he's influencing his own hell, kind of, you know?
That makes sense. Tony finds him, gets him to the car, and is driving to the hospital, but he demands to go back to the squad house. Once there, he goes to Dr. Paul Gregory, who I was surprised, being a family man, was still working that late at night.
I was thinking the exact same thing. I'm like, why would he be there that late?
Yeah. Thorne tells the doctor that he thinks he's going insane, which the doctor says is a problem insane people rarely have.
And he does seem like he's drugged or something. I don't know if it's supposed to be the concussion or...
Yeah.
I don't know.
After effects of being beat up.
Maybe.
Thorne tells him about the engineer, and the doctor seems to be familiar with the engineer. The doctor helps Thorn to sit down and pulls out a file on the engineer. He says that he has gone to this file many times over his career, and the first time was in 1986 when a cop ran into a case that involved a man that went by the engineer. He said that the detective started having delusions and eventually evaluated the engineer to be a figure of supernatural power. Then one day the cop showed up to work, sat at his desk, and shot himself in the head. The doctor adds that the detective had the box on him. When he went to seek it out, it was gone, thinking that it's either lost or been destroyed. That's when Thorn pulls out the box from his pocket, and the way he puts it on the desk is right on top of the picture, which fits exactly, which is kind of neat.
It is neat.
The doctor tells him that he did his research, and it's called the lament configuration, and it is a window or gateway. When you open it, they come for you and tear you apart. Thorn asks who they are, and he is told that some call them demons, and they take you to hell. Thorn tells him he opened the box, that he didn't get taken to hell, but that he has been seeing crazy things. It's like, yeah, you think you're not in hell. Thorn wants to know if he's just going crazy, and the doctor says he isn't really sure if he believes in the devil, but he believes in that box. While driving later, we get another voiceover. He's saying that he lives in a world of facts, but he's starting to believe that maybe some explanations are out of this world. Thorn heads home again, and Melanie is upset that he's never there. She sees how bad he looks and explains that he was jumped by a couple of guys. His daughter asks if he's home yet, and he tells her no. He's just there for a little while, and then he has to go. Melanie lies him down and starts to treat his wounds. When he tries to reach for her face, he sees his own hands, what looks all like decaying with long nails. It scares him.
Yeah, that's really weird.
Yep. Then as he lays there, the phone rings, and Melanie goes to get it. She tells him it was her mother, and she had a visitor from someone that was looking for him, and she thinks he said he was some sort of engineer. So he gets up, pulls out a gun in the closet, and gives it to her, telling her he doesn't want her or their daughter to leave the house. She yells and asks if he's in some kind of trouble, and he says, "We are," runs out of the house as the daughter's crying that she wants her daddy. He pulls up to the Colorado Convalescent Care, which is an elder home. Once inside, he tells the nurse she's looking for the Thorns and says he's their son. She didn't think that Thorns had a son. He asks if they had any other visitor today, and she opens the file to say that they've never had a visitor today or any other days, like rubbing it in, like you never visit your parents.
Yeah.
He flashes his badge, says it's an emergency, and goes back without signing the book. On his way to the room, he sees a set of older yet creepy twins that call him a fine-looking boy. As he turns around, he sees a man in a straitjacket and a wheelchair that seems to be following him. When he gets closer...
That guy is really freaky.
Yeah. As the guy gets closer, we see that his mouth is held open by hooks, and he has a child's laugh.
That is the weirdest part.
Yeah.
Why does he have a child's laugh?
I don't know. In his parents' room, his mom is doing some needlework and asks why he doesn't visit them. His father looks like he's being kept alive on a machine that helps him to breathe.
It really seems like he's dreaming or something is what you're thinking at this point, you know, if nothing else.
He hears a child scream from outside the room and goes in to investigate, and when he leaves the room, he ends up in the child's room he was in earlier. The door slams and it sounds like his parents are being tortured, and he can't do anything about it because he can't open the door. As he looks down, he sees a lot of blood is coming through the bottom of the door.
And it's weird because, like, he doesn't really do anything. Like,
yeah,
he kind of just stands there. Like, why wouldn't you shoot the lock? You've got a gun.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you do something? Like, it's very odd him just standing there while that happens.
Yeah. Then he seems to wake back up in the bed with Melanie as she's looking after him. Back when she gets the phone call, she gets off the phone again, telling the same thing, that his mother was visited by some engineer. He drives back to the same place, but this time he runs back without checking in, and he has his gun drawn. So the nurse tells the security guard, and they come after him with the gun drawn. The security guard says to freeze, put down the gun. He shows his badge, and the nurse is like, "Well, why didn't you say so? We've been expecting you." And they said that their parents disappeared. They don't know where they went, that they went missing since dinner, and they can't go anywhere, which is weird because his father can't even get out of bed.
It's very like Star Trek episode Frame of Mind here, right? Like, you can't figure out which reality is real or if any of them are, or, you know what I mean? And
yeah.
It's an odd effect, though, because things don't have the same stakes anymore since you don't expect anything to be real.
Right.
Kind of odd.
Inside the room, Thorn goes for the door that led to the childhood room earlier, but now it opens to a closet. The nurse goes to make up the bed, When she presses her hand down, blood comes up. So he goes to remove the sheet, and we see this bloody mess on the bed, and the nurse runs out of the room. Thorne then sees a box gift wrapped with blue sports paper, and inside are 2 fingers and a note labeled Joseph. The note reads 416C Hathaway Lane. So outside the care facility, Tony is waiting for him, saying that his wife said he might be there. Thorne shows him the note and he wants him to go there with him, but Tony says they need to go to the captain because he's out of control. Tony says that he hasn't yet told the captain about Daphne. Thorne doesn't want to see the captain because he won't believe his story until he can prove the engineer is the connection. Tony tells him that there is no engineer, and Thorne himself is the connection because he knew Jay and he knew Daphne. So Thorne hits Tony. Tony fights back. Thorne sends Tony to the floor. Thorne asks if he really thinks he can kill his people, and Tony says that he was with the girl and he knew about Bernie, which is the name of the ice cream man, and he knew where to find the finger. He also says there's nothing on that videotape. Thorne then gets in his car, telling Tony to go to hell.
This is a strange movie.
Yeah.
You've got a series of movies about torture and pain, and here you have a movie that seems to be only about psychological torture.
Yes.
Which is a very odd sort of left turn from the rest of the movie series.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's no physical pain, really. I mean, maybe alluded to for some side characters.
Everybody that's not him.
But nothing is that graphic, you know? Like,
yeah.
It's not like the other movies in the series at all.
Okay.
It's like they're just going for psychological torture, which is, that's a different kind of movie, you know? It's like it's a different...
Well, I think after 4 movies, they wanted something different.
I guess so. But you give the movie a name like Hellraiser Inferno.
Yeah.
Right? Inferno? Really? That's the word that was suggested to you by the plot of this story?
I think because he's already in hell.
Well, I guess, but that's not the word I feel like it's a bait and switch. I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of people were upset about this movie because they were baited into watching something they thought was going to be really different than what it was.
I think the argument I hear a lot is that people felt baited because Pinhead was on the poster.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, if they had said it in a Hellraiser universe, but it wasn't Pinhead on the poster, maybe people were like, oh, maybe Pinhead's not in this one. And when we get him, they're like, oh, we got to see Pinhead. That's kind of cool. But because they advertised it as the Pinhead's back.
See, to
that
me...
pisses people off.
The thing for me is just they make it sound like more of a traditional horror movie. I feel like they should have suggested this is more of a psychological thriller in some way so people would know that that's what they were looking at, not a physical...
Maybe. Yeah. I mean, I think the ending is horror for me.
Okay.
But sometimes you have to get to the ending to realize that.
Yeah.
Whereas other movies, you think they're horror the whole time, and then you get to the end and you're like, oh, that's funny. But that's not this movie.
Yeah.
All right. So we see him driving past a cop going to the address on the note. Inside, he finds a telescope, and the windows are blacked out, so he has to open them. And when he goes looking to the telescope, he sees his partner, Tony, chained to a chair with his mouth gagged, and he's being held by the man with no face. Thorne watches the man seems to beat him to death, and the man pulls out a finger. A phone rings, and he picks it up. A voice on the other end says, 6 fingers, 6 murders, only 4 fingers left. Looking back into the telescope, the man shoves the finger into Tony's mouth. The man asks Thorne if he knows who he is, and Thorne says the engineer before yelling, what do you want from me? The engineer replies that he wants him to go home and hangs up. Driving fast in the car, he calls over the radio that there's an officer down. He pulls into his home, pulls out a shotgun from the trunk. Inside, he finds his wife and daughter chained to a pillar.
Of course.
Spinning in a circle like the Pillar of Souls. And the room is snowing. There's many other chains hanging down and several light bulbs for some reason. And they appear to have frozen to death. Then, for some crazy reason, Dr. Paul Gregory is there to say, welcome home, detective. He then tells Thorne that it takes hours to die from exposure. Hours where no one came home. Then the dead Melody opens her eyes and asks why he keeps lying to her. Then his daughter, Chloe, asks if Dad is home yet, to which he says he's home now. But when he reaches to grab her hand, it snaps off at the elbow, and he drops it and shatters. Then both of them start to shatter into pieces in front of him. Thorne drops down to his knees to cry, and the doctor finds a finger on a nearby pillar and smiles. The doctor tells Thorne that he found the finger in Tony's mouth, but this time the print wasn't burned off. But what they found doesn't make any sense because the childhood's fingerprint was Thorn's fingerprint.
Right. Which, of course, it would be.
Right. Thorn says he doesn't understand, and the doctor tells him that he knows, but that he didn't understand him when he told him to go home because this isn't what he meant. He meant his first home. The doctor says he knows everything about him because his file is almost complete. Thorn looks like he is freezing, stands up, and says that the doctor is the engineer. The doctor smiles, saying that it's a good enough name as any. And we see a nail poke through his head, and he transforms into Pinhead.
Yeah.
Thorn asks Pinhead who he is, and Pinhead tells him that who he is not his concern because he is not the killer. To find the killer, he must go back home to the place where it all started. Pinhead backs through some doors and vanishes for a big chunk of the movie. Thorn picks up the shotgun, fires through the door, and then goes into shock to find out he's at his childhood home. We see the same bedroom he keeps going back to. He sees himself as a kid on the ground working on puzzles, and his mother calls him downstairs. He follows himself downstairs where he sees his father, much younger now, asleep in front of the TV. He hears his mom say that she made him brownies, and he watches his younger mother serve his younger self brownies, and then an earthquake happens. The house starts to fall apart, and his younger self vanishes. The mom changes to her older self, but now her eyes are carved out, and she's carrying a knife. She complains that she doesn't like it here, and he never comes to visit her, and then she starts attacking him. Then his older father comes from behind him and also attacks, so he has to shoot them both with a shotgun.
Imagine shooting your own parents. They were just trying to punish him for being a bad son.
That's what it is. And with brownies.
Yeah, that's true.
The house starts to snow, so he goes to close the window in the bathroom. From out of the shower jumps Daphne saying, whatever you want as many times as you want. And he pulls back her head, which is really easy since her throat's still slit.
Yeah.
And then he shoots her as well.
As if that's in any way necessary. But, yeah.
He hears the childhood scream in the hallway again, and he sees Tony with 3 blades in his back. Tony pulls them out one at a time and starts to attack, saying that he trusted him, and Thorn shoots him as well. Then we see Bernie, the ice cream man, in his truck now. Bernie pulls out the whip and gets Thorn in the arm. Thorn shoots him, and he flies out of the window. Outside seems to just turn into like TV snow static and a really bright light.
Is that 6 shots so far? Or
I don't know, but it's like it's a magazine, right? So he could have like...
Yeah, but the number 6 keeps coming up, right? 6 fingers.
Okay, sure. Yeah. Back in the hallway, he sees Torso crawling towards him. Then the wiry twins seem to be filling each other up. He tries to shoot his way through a different door, but he's out of ammo. He ends up kicking the door open, and he sees a very black room. This fades into him inside the black room, and he watches as his child self comes into frame. He's sitting into his chair, and he only has 2 fingers left. Then the faceless man is there, and Thorn pulls out his handgun to aim at him. The faceless man pulls off his mask to reveal that it's Thorn himself. Some kind of weird Star Wars reference, I don't know.
No, I think he's torturing himself, right?
Okay.
Like, kind of like I alluded to before, right?
Sure.
He's the one directing the whole story.
Right. Chains then come out and grab him, and we hear Pinhead come in the room saying that it's like a puzzle where the pieces move to one single objective to kill the king. He questions who the king is and points out that the 2 representations were of himself to each side of Pinhead, the child self and the one that was just a faceless man. Thorn begs, saying he doesn't understand. Pinhead says that is humanity, always pleading ignorance and begging for mercy. Pinhead tells him that his life choices, because of all the people he hurt and all the appetites he's indulged, he allowed his flesh to consume his spirit, and therefore this is the hell he created for himself.
Right. So we've got, that's the chess game is between the sort of true him or good him, which is represented by the child, and the sort of, I guess, evil side of him, which is the faceless man, right? And
right.
It's those 2 sides playing chess inside him, I guess.
Sure. The one that was the faceless Thorn, the adult version of him, pulls out a blade and slices at the younger Thorn, and Pinhead says that his flesh is killing his spirit. Then 6 more hooks come in and pull out his face. The once faceless Thorn shows the finger he cut off, and Pinhead says that there is only 1 finger left and only 1 death to go. Pinhead then tells him, "Welcome to hell," as the chains seem to pull him apart And then the once faceless Thorn walks away into the darkness. Thorn wakes up in the bathroom again next to the lament configuration. He leaves the bathroom and sees that Daphne is still alive. When he touches her, she asks, "Haven't I earned my money yet?" And he says sorry. He opens the door and goes and smiles as everything seems to be all a dream and a weird drug trip. He heads back to the police precinct and he smiles at a picture of his wife and daughter. Another officer asks him how the game went last night, and he says the same thing earlier, that they won by 7, but it would have been 20, but Tony was a no-show. Tony smiled and said he had to go fishing. The phone rings and Thorne answers it, and it's the same panic call from Daphne from earlier. He puts down the phone, grabs his head, and a headache starts to form. Tony asks what's the matter, and Thorne pulls out his gun, putting it in his mouth and shooting, just like the story from the doctor earlier. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, he wakes back up in the bathroom again next to the puzzle box, and we get another voiceover about how he lived in a world of facts where he was certain that he knew all the answers. This time, he leaves the bathroom and ends up in his childhood room again. The voiceover says the only thing he knows for certain is that he has confronted his demons and they will live with him forever. He screams no, and the credits roll, and that same slow jazz song that seems to be belong in a sex scene starts playing again.
Yeah, I still say it's really different from previous movies.
Sure. There are people that love it and people that don't like it. And then there's I would say a lot of people that are like, it's okay.
Yeah, I would put myself in that category.
The first time I watched it, I absolutely loved it.
Yeah?
I liked the whole Groundhog Day sort of like thing happening.
Yeah?
I like that he's already in hell. That was a great twist.
But you still think he was already in hell before
I have pros and cons to this theory.
Uh-huh.
He opened the box after finding Jay Cho's body. If he found Jay Cho's body when he wasn't in hell, whose finger was in the candle?
Okay.
Because it wouldn't have been his. Unless this hell was created based on the idea that he already found some kid's finger, and that kid is just some kid that will never be found because this detective went to hell. Or it's his finger because he's already went through a loop again, who knows how many times, and he doesn't remember it because he's being tortured again. Or
this is just what happened to the previous person. The same sort of thing that also involved their fingers. And this is just, now when he opens it, the same sort of thing is happening to him. And that finger was...
Yeah, but if it's designing their own personal hell, I don't know that there's a puzzle for everybody because he's the puzzler.
Yeah.
I
don't know.
Doesn't work for me, the con to this theory, is that I think part of being in hell, at least we see in the end, is he goes to touch Daphne and he's not allowed to have sex with her anymore. Because she's like, no, I've already earned my money. And he's not going to rape her, right? Yeah. So he was allowed to have sex after finding Jay. I don't think he'd be able to do that in hell. So that's a con for him already being in hell.
Sure.
What doesn't feel like it fits the most in this movie is how Pinhead now, he said things in previous movies like, we have forever, we have eternity to learn your flesh. Mm-hmm. And it's all about torturing and pleasure and pain.
Right.
In this movie, he seems to be morality police.
Right, that's what I'm saying. It's a different movie.
Yeah. That's the one thing that doesn't work. But I enjoyed the whole, you've been in hell this whole time. Or at least when they opened the box.
Right.
Which I like. That part worked for me.
Yeah.
At least for the first viewing, it was enough of an impact to be like, whoa, I like this.
It was interesting. I'm not sure what to say about it overall. I think there's still a lot of unanswered questions for me. Like, I would need to dig deeper and analyze it more, I guess.
Sure.
But
this DVD won Best Special Effects and was nominated for Best Editing and Best Sound in the DVD Exclusive Awards of 2001, which I thought was cool.
What I thought was strange is if you watch till the end of the credits.
Yeah.
At the very end of the credits, there's just this message, Soli Deo Gloria, which is Latin for glory to God alone. And it's very prominent. And I'm like, what is that there for? Like, is someone who made this movie religious and afraid that it's, I don't know, that there's something sinful about making a horror movie? Or, I don't know. It's just an interesting thing.
Yeah, I don't know.
I didn't know what to make of that. I don't know if it had anything to do with the change in tone for this.
Yeah. I liked how the character was slowly going mad, and we weren't sure what was reality or not, at least during the first viewing. I thought that was fun. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I like the film noir part of it. I thought it was stylized well, but I disliked it. It was different. But I get that not everybody is going to like it. And as the movies go on, and there's less and less Pinhead in the movies, I feel like some movies are more than others. That's just what the movies turned into.
Right.
But Doug Bradley was paid a lot of money to show up for 3 days for maybe 2.5 minutes of footage.
Right.
In the end.
I don't care as much about Pinhead. I mean, to me, it's not
Sure.
any one character.
Yeah.
It's just the concept of it is.
Sure.
I kind of liked the physical hell more than the psychological one.
Got it.
That might just be me.
Okay, cool. Well, I'm curious what you think of the next one.
I'm curious what I will think of it as well.
I like that it brings back a specific character for the original movie,
Okay.
which is fun. So that's fun. Thank you everybody for listening. This has been Nightmare Echoes. If you'd like to follow us on Instagram, we're at Nightmare Echoes Pod. And please leave us a 5-star rating on your podcast listening program of choice.
And please remember to suffer beautifully.
Yeah. Bye.
Goodbye.